Gentlemen, as we're about to begin our service, will you please turn off all electronic devices or place them in a silent mode? Thank you.
Welcome, everyone. We gather today in loving memory of Joan Spector, who passed away last week after 81 years of life. It strikes me that it wasn't long ago at all, only back in December, that we gathered here together in this place to memorialize Joan's husband, Philip, of blessed memory. Her husband of 60 years. Their daughters, Lee and Jill, have shared with me so much over the past few years about their fears, their concerns, as their parents have faced health struggles and as Joan dealt with Phil's passing, but they always made it a point to raise up the deep and abiding love shared between Joan and Phil, making sure that I knew that neither of them could ever remember seeing them fight, not once. They told me about how Joan took care of Phil and took care of them as Phil built a business from scratch to support the family. Joan was all in on her partnership with Phil, being a role model for Jill and for Lee of being a loving and caring wife while also being a strong and independent woman. Her daughters, through a laugh, told me that while they were always friendly with their mother, she always maintained that line where they knew that she was the mama, no matter how much they joked or how close they were. Though a congregant at Beth Tikva, I didn't get to know Joan so well during life. I first met her during a hospital visit where it was a really tough situation. She was in one hospital, and I think your dad was in rehab. Was he in another hospital? It was one or the other. But they both were in...
I think maybe he was 4 below.
That may have been too, right? Yeah. They were both in struggles at the hospital at the same time. And, you know, on his passing, I got to know Joan a little bit better, and seeing that she, despite her pain, would light up when speaking about Phil. And I knew how much she was struggling emotionally after his passing. It really is my sincere prayer that through this grief that we're holding, my prayer that she's found some peace being spiritually reunited with Phil. So, more formally, as I mentioned, we're brought together today in loving memory of Joan E. Spector, Yehudit Bat Label, Zichronah Livracha, of blessed memory. It's acknowledged that this isn't easy. It's hard to lose a loved one at any time. It's hard to lose someone looking at this family who's like a matriarch to the family. We note that we're also still dealing with COVID and we're kept distant from one another. And there are people who wish they could be here today who are still kept away by virtue of distance. So to those watching virtually, shalom and welcome. Welcome into this space. Your presence here is important, and speaking on behalf of the family and those gathered here, it is felt. The family extends their gratitude to you for your presence and your ongoing support. On behalf of those gathering with us remotely, I wish to share an adaptation of a poem by Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt called When the Grave is Too Far Away. God, my loved one is being memorialized too far away to visit. I wish I could run my fingers along their name to be engraved in granite, to take a stone from my pocket and to leave it to mark my presence. Times like this, I wish I didn't live so far away. If I close my eyes and imagine their memorial here before me, will you help me feel as though I've actually gone to be with them? Be the switchboard operator. Please connect my call. When I say, I remember you, I want to believe they hear me, even though I'm not standing with them in that far-off funeral home. May the miles between here and there become unimportant in the face of what connects us across every kind of distance. Our Jewish tradition teaches that while the physical body is temporary, the soul is eternal. And today we come together to pray for full and complete rest for Joan's ailing body. And as she's laid to rest at the interment, which will follow this at Crescent, we note that her soul is bound to the bond of life. That's to each of you. And we seek blessings for the continued elevation of her soul. May our time together today have purpose and deep meaning, and may it honor well the memory of Joan E. Spector, who passed away last Thursday morning after a long health struggle. I'm Rabbi Nathan Weiner, the rabbi at Congregation Beth Tikva in Marlton, where Joan and Phil made their spiritual home for the past 20 plus years. Joan is predeceased, as I mentioned, of course, by her loving husband Phil, Zichronah Livracha, blessed memory. She is survived by her daughters Jill and her husband John, Lee and her husband Michael, and of course her grandchildren, Chloe, Jeremy, and Kellen. May your love for one another carry you through this difficult transition. Going to read Psalm 23, a psalm universal across the Abrahamic faith traditions. I'll read it first in Hebrew and then in English. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai ro'i lo achsar, b'noteshe yarbitzeni, amen menuchot inachaleni. Nafshi yeshove v'yamcheni b'magle tzedek l'man shemo. Gam ki elech el gates ha'mavet, lo ira ra ki ata imadi. Shivtecha u'mishantecha hema yenachamuni, ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged tzorai. Tishanta b'shem roshi kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni, Kol yemei chayai, v'shavti b'veit Adonai, le'orech yamim. The Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. It's important that those who knew and loved Joan in life share words to raise up her kavod, her honor. That is what a hesped, as we call it in Hebrew, or a eulogy at a Jewish funeral is about. We're going to hear from 4 members of the family, from Kellen, from Jeremy, from John, and from Lee. The way that we're going to do this for COVID, so that family members can feel comfortable if they wish to come up and take their mask off in order to speak, will come up again in that order: Kellen, Jeremy, John, and Lee. I'm going to be listening from that side of the door so that we can be up here, just coming up one at a time, so that you can feel comfortable being unmasked. Kellen?
These little steps to over there for you.
I just want to share some. I just want to share. Okay, is this mic gonna work? I just want to share some of my memories. I remember my first time at Renbig. You came to pick me up. I thought you were in Cherry Hill. I saw you come through those big wide doors with a smile. I cried running into her arms. All my other boys laughed when yelled out Mama's going. You gave him a stern talking to and he was speechless. I also remember the time we made sweet and sour meatballs. I also remember when we did puzzles over and over again. We can never find the last piece. I am done. Nice job, Mama.
Just like when this happened in December, I didn't plan this at all. I just came up here on the fly. Unlike most people, I always regret that I think I did not spend enough time with them, both of them. Well, I do remember she always liked to listen to my stories, and she was always willing for a hug. I'm still sad that I don't really have too many noteworthy memories to share. And even if she can't hear me, I hope she can, and I want to say some stuff that, well, I'm still doing. I'm still in choir singing, I'm still playing hockey and cracking heads together on the ice. I'm getting better at drawing, and I'm having fun in art. School is, it's going all right. I still have straight A's, so you'll be glad to hear that. I'm still playing games, keeping myself entertained, watching videos, and laughing like a fool. Another thing I hope you can do, it's this ongoing joke we like to say in our family that the girls of the family, they always watch this one ridiculous soap opera, and us men, we never understand it. We never understand why they're so enraptured with the show. I might as well share the title, General Hospital. It's just an ongoing joke. Every single girl in this family has watched it. My mom, her sister, my sister, and of course, my grandmother. And us boys, we still don't understand it. Why do you watch it? I hope that wherever she is, she can watch her shows, and this one goes for Papa. I hope he's able to watch my game whenever I play on the ice. I felt like I wanted to say something else, but I can't remember it. Again, I'm sorry I didn't spend as much time as I wish I could, and I hope you can forgive me. I think that's it. I think that's all for me.
The first chapter of Jeremiah, the 5th verse, says, God says, before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew you. Now, God set us aside as individuals, and we are all blessed to have known Joan, and she certainly was an individual. I didn't know Phil earlier in his life when I understand he got into a lot of mischief before he met Joan Fleischacker, and she calmed him down a little bit. She was always there for her family. Whenever they started a new chapter of their lives, moved on to something that was challenging, she was always there to support and love them, even if others were sometimes recommending that they do something different. I think I remember one of the things that Phil told me one time about his relationship to his wife. They had gone to a show, and they had to move their products up a flight of stairs to get to the exhibition floor. And he told me that one of the other exhibitors was complaining because he had to move things up this flight of stairs, and he wondered why he didn't have a dolly to go upstairs. About that time, Joan showed up, lugging a couple of boxes of baseball cards up the steps, and Phil told the guy, "See, my dolly does steps." We had our children in the wintertime, in the coldest part of the winter, when they were enjoying the Florida sunshine. But when the call came to Joan that her grandchildren had been born, she was on the next flight to Baltimore to see her grandbabies. And those grandchildren are now growing up, and I hope they'll always remember when somebody tells them you're not big enough, or fast enough, or smart enough to go do what you want to do. Remember Phil and Joan Spector. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming today. Mom, I'm really going to miss you terribly. Since I was little, you're always my biggest supporter and my protector. I'll never forget when I was in junior high, and as it wasn't so common by doctors that they didn't want me to run, when the gym teachers wanted me to run, she marched right into the school, looked right at my gym teacher and said, "We don't want Lee to get sick, do we?" I got a gym pass, a study hall pass, whenever we had running activities. My mother was tough. I don't think she realized just how much. She could look up and down at me, and I knew we were in trouble. No yelling, just a look. I also think she had that Jewish mom guilt down as well. She never had to say much, but if I would feel awful whenever I needed to, even as an adult. As Chris as a rabbi said, my parents never really argued. It took a while for her to get upset, but if she did, he knew, and it would shake him up. They had a great partnership. Dad led, Mom followed, but she was definitely in charge of us. We could joke, but we knew she was the boss and not our friend. She worked as a bookkeeper, so that skill helped her manage their books. Dad was great with stocks, while Mom managed the house. They had their joint bills, but she made sure that we always knew how to handle our own bills and accounts. For someone who was married, straight out of high school, somehow knew how to raise working women. Thank you, Mom, for that. She was the best grandmother. Many of you knew it was tough for them at the beginning of my marriage. They grew to love Mike and was thrilled when we had Kellen. It was different for her because she wasn't around for the little things with Jill's kids. But she was there right after Kellen was born, and they had a great relationship. They played with puzzles, and he helped her cook. I'm sad to think that she'll miss his graduation and his wedding, but no, she'll be smiling with pride. My mom was the best cook. She made turkeys, and she perfected my grandmother's stuffing recipe. I stopped drinking coffee in college because it wasn't my mom's. She gave it to us kids, which would shock most people, but I survived. She gave me dime-sized raw hamburger meat, but I survived. My mother loved sports and taught us the same thing. Watched several Flyers and Eagles games. We watched the Olympics and would joke at the other countries and make them fall. She showed me crazy habits, like never fold towels during the game. And of course, as you know, if it's weird, if it doesn't work. They met several athletes through the hobby. Whenever she would see Bernie, her aunt, he would flirt with her, and it made her so excited. It was like a little schoolgirl. And then we also loved soap operas because of her. At the beginning, there was an intense story of a character named Lee who died. Daddy called home one day, and she was crying, saying that Lee died. And of course, Dad freaked out, and she stopped watching as much after that. She also had crushes on a lot of the actors, which made me cringe. But I realize how that is like now. She had a horrible sense of direction. She got lost many times taking us to camp. There was also many times where she picked me up late from school. I knew she loved me. Even with the GPS, she would get lost. I don't even know how that's possible. She loved music. She loved dancing. Elvis and Sinatra were her favorites. I remember when Elvis died, she stopped dead in the middle of the boardwalk and started to cry. Dad laughed at her, and I screamed at him, "Don't make fun of my mom." My mom wasn't perfect, but I have no complaints. She taught me how to be an adult, a wife, and a mom, and a friend. I will take these lessons with me my whole life. I love you, Mom. Take care of Dad. And kiss them all for me. Thank you.
Just outside, the other side of the door, and you can hear the love in all of your voices. Thank you. It's with these thoughts in mind that we move to Il Malei Rachamim, the central prayer of a Jewish memorial service, which asks God to grant Joan's soul perfect rest on the wings of God's divine presence. I'll read it first in English, then chanting it in Hebrew. If you're physically able, I invite you to please rise. God, full of compassion, who dwells on high, grant true rest upon the wings of the Shekhinah, the divine presence, in the exalted spheres of the holy and pure, who shine as resplendence of the firmament to the soul of Joan E. Spector, who has gone to her eternal home. For charity has been donated in remembrance of her soul. May her place of rest be in the Garden of Eden. Therefore, may the All-Merciful One shelter her with the cover of God's wings forever, and bind her soul in the bond of life. Adonai is her heritage. May she rest in her resting place in peace. And let us say, Amen. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamitzei Menucha Nechona, Al Kanfei HaShechina, B'malot Kirushim U'Tehorim, Kezohar HaRakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Yehudit Bat Label, Shelcha le'olama, ba'avor shenadvut tzedakah, ba'ad haskarat nishmata, בגן עדן תהא מנוחתה, לכן בעל הרחמים יסתיריה בסתר כנפיו לעולמים. ויצרור ביצרור החיים את נשמתה, אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח על משכבה בשלום, ונאמר אמן. You may be seated. You know, it's immediately following our time together here, which is drawing to a close. We will process to Crescent Memorial Park in Pensacola for interment. Family asks that donations in lieu of flowers please be sent to the Alzheimer's Association. Also, immediately following interment, guests, family, and friends are welcome back to the late residence at 104 Ramble Road in Cherry Hill. If anyone is unvaccinated, you are asked to please keep your mask on for the entirety of the duration of the time which you are inside the home, and to refrain from eating and drinking. There will be Shiva Minyanim tonight, hosted by Congregation Beth Tikva, and on Monday night, hosted by Congregation Oseh Shalom in Laurel, Maryland. Both of these services will be held virtually via Zoom. Please reach out to the family for the Zoom links if you don't already have them. Yes?
Is it all right if I come up and speak some more? I remember some just... We're done now.
Yeah.
May we have the pallbearers, please? And I would ask you to rise once more.
יושב בסתר עליון, בצל שדי גדולה. אמר לה למעשים מצורתי אלוהי תחתו. והוא יצילך מפח יכוש בדרך אבות. דברתו יסף לך ותחת כנפיו תחסה. צינה וסוחרה אמיתו. לא תירא מפחד לילה, מחץ יעוף יומם. מדבר באופל יהלוך, מכתב ישות צהריים. יפול מצילך אלך ורבבה ממינך, אליך לא ייגש. רק בעיניך תביט ושבומת רשעים תראה. כי אתה אדוני מחסי עליון שמת נאונך.